All right, guys, give me just a second here while I get my sports alerts app on my screen. Now, you won't be able to see the app, you'll be able to see me, but I can tell you everything off of that app. Okay, looks like we're ready. Go straight into the standings. All right, we're all set. Good morning or good afternoon, hockey and hoops fans. Big Al here on this Monday, January 9th, 2023. And every Monday, as I always do, I will be taking a look at the current NBA and NHL standings, plus the playoff races in both leagues. So we will not waste no time here, and we'll jump right into this. And we'll start off in the National Basketball Association, the standings through January 8th, 2023. And we'll start off in the Eastern Conference, where it's looking like maybe a 3-team race atop the Atlantic Division. The Boston Bruins still own the Eastern Conference's best record at 28-12. They have a 6-4 mark in their last 10 games. Not too far behind them in second are the Brooklyn Nets at 27-13, just a game behind Boston. And they're hot, 9-1 in their last 10 games. And both Boston and Brooklyn have won back-to-back games. The Philadelphia 76ers are currently third with a 24-15 record. They trail the Celtics by 3.5. They're 7-3 in their last 10. Fourth place is the New York Knicks, 22-18, 6 games behind Boston, 5-5 in their last 10, including 4 straight wins. And still in the basement of the Atlantic Division, the Toronto Raptors, 17-23, 11 games out of first behind the Celtics, and 4-6 in their last 10 ball games. We'll now move to the Central Division, where you now have a virtual tie for first place, with both the Milwaukee Bucks and the Cleveland Cavaliers. Milwaukee is 25-14 and 4-6 in their last 10 games, while Cleveland is 26-15 and 6-4 in their last 10 games. Milwaukee has a winning percentage of .641, while Cleveland has a winning percentage of .634. Third place is the Indiana Pacers, 23-18, trailing both Milwaukee and Cleveland by 3 games. They are 8-2 in their last 10, including 2 straight wins. Fourth place is the Chicago Bulls, getting very close to that 500 mark. They're 19-21, 6.5 games behind the Bucks and the Cavs. They're 7-3 in their last 10, including 3 straight wins. And still sitting in the basement of the Central Division with the worst record in the Eastern Conference is the Detroit Pistons. At 11-32, they're 16 games out of first place behind Milwaukee and Cleveland, and 3-7 in their last 10, including 2 straight losses. Over now to the very weak Southeast Division, led by the Miami Heat at 21-20. They're playing 500 ball over their last 10 games, 5 wins and 5 losses. In second place are the Atlanta Hawks, 19-21, 1.5 games behind Miami, 4-6 in their last 10. Third place is the Washington Wizards, 17-23, 3.5 games out behind the Heat, 6-4 in their last 10, including back-to-back losses. Fourth place, the Orlando Magic, 15-25, 5.5 games behind the Heat, and 5-5 in their last 10. And sitting in last place, the Charlotte Hornets, 11-30, 10 games out, 3-7 in their last 10 games. All right, looking at the playoff picture in the Eastern Conference, Boston would be the number 1 seed at the present time at 28-12. Brooklyn would be the 2 seed at 27-13. Followed by Milwaukee at 3 with a 25-14 record. Cleveland would be the 4 seed at the present time at 26-15. Number 5 is Philadelphia, 24-15. And number 6 would be Indiana at 23-18. Those would be your top 6 in the Eastern Conference. 7 through 10 would make the play-in tournament. Number 7 is the New York Knicks at 22-18. Then it's Miami at number 8 with a 21-20 record. And then based on tiebreakers, Chicago and Atlanta, both at 19-21, would make up the last 2 spots in the play-in tournament. Chicago would be seeded 9th. The Hawks would be seeded 10th. On the outside of that play-in tournament, Washington would be 2 games out, as would Toronto. Orlando would be 4 games out, Charlotte 8.5 games out, and Detroit 9.5 games out. Over in the Western Conference, the Memphis Grizzlies have gotten on a hot streak, and they've taken over sole possession of first place in the Southwest Division at 26-13. 7-3 in their last 10 games, including 6 straight wins. The New Orleans Pelicans have fallen back to second place at 24-16, 2.5 behind Memphis, and 6-4 in their last 10, including back-to-back losses. Third place is the Dallas Mavericks, 23-18, 4 games behind Memphis, 8-2 in their last 10. Fourth place, the San Antonio Spurs, 13-27, 13.5 games out behind the Grizzlies, and 3-7 in their last 10. And sitting in last place, and I think they're tied with the Pistons. Well, look. No, this team does have the worst record overall in the NBA, and that's the Houston Rockets at 10-30, 16.5 games behind the Memphis Grizzlies for first in the Southwest. 1-9 in their last 10 ball games, including 7 straight losses. So the Rockets trending in the wrong direction here. The Denver Broncos have a pretty comfortable lead atop the Northwest Division, sitting with a 26-13 record, best in the West. 8-2 in their last 10 games, including 2 straight wins. The Minnesota Timberwolves and the Portland Trailblazers are in a virtual tie for second place. Minnesota is 20-21 with a winning percentage of .488 and 4-6 in their last 10 games, including 4 straight wins. Portland is 19-20 with a .487 win percentage, 3-7 in their last 10 games, including 3 straight losses, and both sit 7 games behind the Nuggets for first in the Northwest. Following the fourth place are the Utah Jazz at 20-23, 8 games behind Denver, 3-7 in their last 10, and 2 straight in the lost column. And in last place are the Oklahoma City Thunder, 18-22, 8.5 games out of first place, 6-4 in their last 10 games, including back-to-back wins. And then in the ever-changing Pacific Division, the Sacramento Kings of all teams lead the way here at 20-18. They're 4-6 in their last 10 games, including 2 straight losses. Both the Golden State Warriors, the defending NBA champions, and the Los Angeles Clippers are tied for second, both with the same amount of wins and losses. Golden State is 20-20. They're 6-4 in their last 10 games, including 2 straight wins, or 2 straight losses, rather. The Clippers, meanwhile, are 21-21. 3-7 in their last 10 games, including 6 straight losses, and both trail Sacramento by 1 game. Sliding down into 4th place are the 2-time defending Pacific Division champs, the Phoenix Suns, at 20-21. 1.5 games behind the Kings. Phoenix is 1-9 in their last 10 games, including 6 straight losses. So they have the same losing streak as the Clippers. And sitting in last place, but who knows for how long, are the Los Angeles Lakers. 19-21, just 2 behind Sacramento. 6-4 in their last 10, including 5 straight wins. So right now, the Pacific Division is pretty much anyone's for the taking. Taking a look at the Western Conference playoff picture. All right. The top 6 in the West would be the Denver Nuggets at number 1 at 26-13. They would have the tiebreaker over the Memphis Grizzlies, who have the same 26-13 record, bumping Memphis down to the 2 spot. New Orleans would be the number 3 seed at 24-16. Dallas at number 4 at 23-18. Sacramento 5 at 20-18. And Golden State 6 with a 20-20 record. 7 through 10 would make the play-in tournament, and right now it would be the Clippers at number 7 with a 21-21 record. Phoenix at number 8, 20-21. Same record as Minnesota, 20-21. The Timberwolves are the 9 seed. And the last playoff spot in the West would go to the Portland Trailblazers at 19-20. Outside of the playoffs, the LA Lakers, just a half game behind Portland for 10th. Utah would be a full game out behind Portland. Oklahoma City would be a game and a half out. Then it really drops off from there, as San Antonio would be 6.5 games out, and Houston would be 9.5 games out. So those are your NBA standings through January 8th. Now we're going to jump into the NHL standings through January 8th. Starting in the Eastern Conference, where the Boston Bruins continue to have the league's best record. Through 40 games, the Boston Bruins have a record of 32 wins, 4 losses, and 4 overtime losses. Good for 68 points. 30 of Boston's 32 wins have come in regulation or overtime. In a very distant second place are the Toronto Maple Leafs. They played half their schedule, 41 games. They have a 25-9-7 record for 57 points and 25 wins in regulation or overtime. Sitting in third place are the Tampa Bay Lightning. 38 games, 24-13-1 for 49 points and 23 wins in regulation or overtime. Jumping up to fourth place are the Buffalo Sabres. 37 games, 20, 15, and 2 for 42 points, and 19 wins in regulation or overtime. Fifth place are the Florida Panthers. 41 games, 18, 19, and 4, 40 points, 17 wins regulation or overtime. So at this juncture, the Panthers have played half their schedule as well. Sixth place are the Detroit Red Wings. 38 games, 16, 15, and 7, 39 points, 15 wins in regulation or overtime. They find themselves in a points tiebreaker with the Ottawa Senators at 18, 18, and 3 through 39 games and 17 wins in regulation or overtime. The Senators, like the Red Wings, have 39 points. Last place is the Montreal Canadiens. 40 games, 16, 21, and 3, 35 points, 12 wins in regulation or overtime. The Carolina Hurricanes have the lead in the Metropolitan Division. 40 games played, 25, 8, and 7, 57 points, 22 wins in regulation or overtime. Second place are the New Jersey Devils. Also 40 games played. They're 25, 12, and 3 with 53 points. All 25 of the Devils' wins coming in regulation or overtime. Third place are the Washington Capitals. 43 games, 23, 14, and 6, 52 points. All 23 wins in regulation or overtime. Fourth place is the New York Rangers. 41 games, 22, 12, and 7, 51 points. 21 wins in regulation or overtime. The Pittsburgh not the Steelers, but rather the Pittsburgh Penguins sit in fifth place. 39 games, 20, 13, and 6. And tied with them in terms of points are the New York Islanders. 41 games, 22, 17, and 2. The Penguins have 19 wins in regulation or overtime, while the Islanders have 22 wins in regulation or overtime, and both teams sit with 46 points. Next up are the Philadelphia Flyers. 40 games, 15, 18, and 7, 37 points, 15 wins in regulation or overtime. And sitting with the worst record in the Eastern Conference by a long shot are the Columbus Blue Jackets. 39 games, 12, 25, and 2 for 26 points, 11 wins in regulation or overtime. Sorry if my hand covered the camera lens. I wasn't trying to do that. All right. As it sits right now, looking at the Eastern Conference playoff picture, Boston, Toronto, and Tampa Bay with 68, 57, and 49 points respectively would be your top three teams in the Atlantic Division. Then you have Carolina, New Jersey, and Washington with 57 points, 53 points, and 52 points respectively as your top three in the Metropolitan Division. The two wildcard spots in the East would go to the New York Rangers, 51 points, and the Pittsburgh Penguins at 46 points. Again, they're in a points tie with the Islanders for that second wildcard spot, but the Sabres have played 2 fewer games than the Islanders, so that gives Pittsburgh the edge here. So the Islanders would be on the outside looking in despite having the same amount of points as the Penguins. Buffalo at this point would be 4 points out. Florida would be 6 points out. Both Detroit and Ottawa would be 7 points out. Philadelphia 9 points out. Montreal 11 points out. And Columbus 20 points out. Jumping over to the Western Conference, the Dallas Stars hanging on by a thread atop the Central Division. 41 games, 24, 11, and 6, 54 points, all 24 wins in regulation or overtime. And right there with them in second place are the Winnipeg Jets. 40 games, 26, 13, and 1, 53 points. All 26 of the Jets' wins have come in regulation or overtime. Third place is the Minnesota Wild. 39 games, 22, 14, and 3, 47 points, 19 wins in regulation or overtime. All right, next up is a points tiebreaker with both the Colorado Avalanche, the reigning Stanley Cup champions, and the St. Louis Blues, the 2019 Stanley Cup champions. Colorado has played 38 games. They're 20, 15, and 3. St. Louis, meanwhile, they've played 41 games. They're 20, 18, and 3. Both teams have 17 wins in regulation or overtime, and both teams sit with 43 points. Sixth place are the Nashville Predators. 38 games, 18, 14, and 6, 42 points, 16 wins in regulation or overtime. In seventh place are the Arizona Coyotes. 39 games, 13, 21, and 5 for 31 points, 12 wins in regulation or overtime. And sitting still with the worst record in the NHL through January 8th, the Chicago Blackhawks. 39 games, 10, 25, and 4, 24 points, all 10 wins by the Blackhawks coming in regulation or overtime. All right. The Vegas Golden Knights, they'll remain the kings of the Pacific. After 42 games, they're sitting at 27, 13, and 2 for 56 points, 24 wins in regulation or overtime. Second place, the Los Angeles Kings. 43 games, 23, 14, and 6, 52 points, 19 wins in regulation or overtime. The Seattle Kraken have jumped back into third place. 38 games, 22, 12, and 4, 48 points, 22 wins in regulation or overtime. Fourth place are the Calgary Flames. 41 games, 19, 14, and 8 for 46 points and 18 wins in regulation or overtime. Fifth place, the Edmonton Oilers, halfway through their schedule. 41 games, 21, 17, and 3, 45 points, 21 wins in regulation or overtime. Sitting in sixth place are the Vancouver Canucks. 39 games, 17, 19, and 3, 37 points, and 15 wins in regulation or overtime. In seventh place, the San Jose Sharks. 41 games, 12, 21, and 8, 32 points, 11 wins in regulation or overtime. And in last place in the Pacific, the Anaheim Ducks. 41 games, 12, 25, and 4 for 28 points, and 9 wins in regulation or overtime. All right. Looking at the playoff picture in the West. Dallas with 54 points, Winnipeg with 53, and Minnesota with 47 would be your top three teams in the Central. Vegas with 56 points, Los Angeles with 52, and Seattle with 48 would be your top three in the Pacific Division. The two wild card spots in the West would go to the two Alberta teams. Calgary at 46 points would be the top wild card. Edmonton with 45 points would be the second wild card. And then outside of the playoffs in the Western Conference, both Colorado and St. Louis would be 2 points out. Nashville, 3 points out. Vancouver would be 8 points out. San Jose, 13 points out. Arizona, 14 points out. Anaheim, 17 points out. And Chicago, 21 points out. And that is a look at the NBA and NHL standings through Sunday, January 8th, plus the playoff races in both leagues. All right. Now, I'm a little behind with wrapping up the NFL regular season. So I have weeks 17 and 18 of the week that was. I look to have both those editions done this week. So be on the lookout for that. I'm not sure when I'm going to go live with either of them, but just on the, they'll be coming this week. So with that being said, that's all for today. Like, comment, subscribe to my channel, and ring the bell. Get notified every time I go live. This is Big Al signing off. Thanks for watching. And always keep cool, folks. Even though it's winter, it's cold outside, but I digress. Anyway, Big Al signing off. Peace out.